Bobby, going to the break, we were just about wrapping up 1968, where Lennox Miller
yes, I want to say
on
this
top.
is important. He got a silver medal.
Right.
Jim Hines, he did 10.04.
Of the United States,
yes, for
right?
Jim Hines of the US. But there was also another great American called Charlie Green. So he really had his work cut out for him. And his Jamaica record stood for years. In the 4x100 meters, in the heats, we equaled the world record. In the semi-final, we broke the world record. And in the final, we ran 1/10 of a second slower. This is how track and field is an unkind sport, but a beautiful
And
sport.
that's a 4x1 for
yeah,
men.
4x1 for
the
men.
red.
You run 1/10 of a second and you come fourth.
Can you recall everyone that
Errol
was
Stewart,
18?
passed in a little nepotism here.
Right.
My brother,
No
Michael
problem.
Fray, Clifton Forbes, and to Lennox Billy Miller.
Okay.
So we finished.
Clifton Forbes is
from Kingston Technical.
And the same man who is the father of Ian Forbes?
No, that's Mr.
different
Hedley
Clifton?
Forbes,
Okay,
different Forbes,
okay.
yes. He's a person who was helped train in the early years, the Sunshine Girls. But he was also, he had been manager of Jamaica teams because he's a member of the J3s.
Because we're pressed for time.
1972, Miller alone, because Corey stumbles and
In the
falls
200
injured
meters, if I
in the
recall.
200 meters.
Yes.
But Lennox Miller got a bronze. So a silver 4 years before, and a bronze in the 100 4 years later. And remember, he was studying full-time to be a dentist. So he was preparing part-time. We're not taking anything away from a classy Valerie Boss of Russia. So we go to 76, where Donald Quarry, he
Montreal,
loses
Canada.
the 100 to Hazy
The
Crawford of Trinidad and Tobago by
right.
100. But he wins the 200.
And defeated the same Hazel Crawford.
Yes,
for whom he had
well,
lost in the 100
exactly,
meters,
but
right?
Hazy Crawford wasn't strong. So it was the other competitors to look out for, to
Right.
find out how good a Borsov would have been also, and to find out what the Americans were going to throw at him. Although there was a 17-year-old who got the bronze medal in Quarry's race in
Any
76.
ladies to highlight
or
out of 2016?
No, you see, because I think of the underplay. By then, Rosie Allwood was trying her very best, but she had to settle for being a finalist. So you don't leave out Rosie Allwood Morrison. But the problems I feel she had is because the women were not motivated.
And Rosie would run in what event?
She would run in the 100 and the 200.
Okay.
And 4 years later, when the 4x100 for women came sixth, I think it was Rosie Allwood, Lilith Hodges, and Jacqueline Pusey. And of course, Merlin
Otti.
Yes.
And that would have been
Yes,
1980 now.
yes.
Right. This is in Moscow.
It's in Moscow.
Where
And
Merlin
now-
Otti came on the scene.
Came on the scene.
World scene, that
She's
is.
just 1 year out of high school. She
Out of
loses,
their technical.
she loses the silver medal by 1/100th of a second.
And that is to the Americans.
Yeah, no, she lost it to an athlete from the Eastern Bloc. But guess what? The athlete set a world junior record in beating Merlin. I'm suggesting to you that if she's a year younger than Merlin, it is she who should be continuing to run up to 2000 and not Ambassador Otti. What I'm trying to show you is perhaps the most resilient sportsman or sportswoman ever born is Merlin Joyce Otti, born May 10th, 1960, in Cold Spring, Hanover. She has faced more oppression and more injustice than Nanny of the Maroons.
17 medals overall from the World Championship and the Olympic combined. 25 medals combined
Yes.
with Merlin Otti.
Yes, and
9 at the
Olympics, yeah,
and
sorry,
13 at the World
sorry,
Championship.
9 at the Olympics, 14 at the
14
World
at the World
Championship.
Championship,
Yeah,
yes.
but Commonwealth gold and so on, Pan Am bronze when she's just 19
would
be
check to
there.
her.
But I mean, all when she's 35, she's redefining her form. You must remember, she's been world indoor 60-meter champion, you know. She has been world indoor. She came second in the world indoor 200 meters in 87. She won gold in the world indoors in 1989. And in 1991, she equaled her world record in the world indoors 22.24. In 1993, she's the only woman ever to have gone under 22.00 seconds.
Which is
indoors. She ran
21.74?
21.87.
Okay, because the 21.74, the national record.
Yeah, 21.64.
64, sorry,
Yes.
would be what she did at the World Championship, if I can recall, or a World Championship year.
She did it in a
Stuttgart,
World
I
Championship
think.
year, exactly, down
Right.
there also. But you know, so where are we now? We are at
1984.
1984. So we're at 1984, and there's a sad thing. You must remember now, in 1983, we have
At a world
introduced
championship.
a world championship. So you have the Olympics every 4 years, but in 1983, 1987, 1991, you have the world championships.
Right.
Thereafter, it came every 2 years. Bertrand Cameron was the gold medalist in the historic inaugural world championship in Helsinki in 83.
Right.
In running, he ran the 400 meter semi-final. When he was gone 100 meters, a cramp took him and he hobbled, and the field went 20 to 30 meters ahead of him, and he ran fourth and qualified for the final.
Of which
but
he couldn't
sadly,
participate,
he
yes.
couldn't participate. But on the men's side, we had Raymond Stewart. Raymond Stewart won his semi-final, and to this day, I cannot understand how Raymond Stewart was put in lane 8 between Carl Lewis and the 92 or 100,000 strong crowd in California, Los Angeles, California. So it wrecked him out psychology and everything.
And as a schoolboy at the time.
Yeah, a schoolboy,
yes,
because, you know, out of Camperdown. So you see, and here is a situation where our 4x1 team got a silver medal. Don Quarry firing off the last cylinder. He had got a bronze in the 200 in Moscow 4 years before. He ran a beautiful third leg and got a silver in the 4x100 meters.
That is 1984.
84.
1988 now in Seoul.
Yes, we got a 4x400 meter medal with Bert now anchoring the team behind the United States of America. But that Grace Jackson ran 21.72 seconds to set a Jamaican, a Commonwealth record, every kind of thing. Flojo set the world record of 21.34. But when we bring in our lawyers, we have to discuss that, because the 10.49 and the 21.34 should be expunged from the record books.
And should that was a silver for Grace Jackson at the time.
Yes, because Merlin was hurt. But let us say, Track and Field News, which is the Bible of the sport, said, for example, that if Florence Griffith Joyner did 11.15 at the 100-meter mark, Merlin was at 11.16, just 100th behind. But she had a heavy bandage. She was injured. You remember it was the same time as Gilbert, too, you know?
Right.
She got a terrible blow as Hurricane Gilbert also. You understand?
1992 Barcelona.
1992 Barcelona, Juliet Cuthbert.
Right.
But you see, we mustn't forget this, you know. Juliet Cuthbert went to 5 Olympic Games. You see, if it was for Bernadine Otti, we'd perhaps know how great these people are. Juliet Cuthbert went to Moscow in 1960, in 1980, at the age of 16. In 1988, she reached the 100-meter final in the Olympics. And she got injured and she finished up 7th. We don't talk about that enough. She did 10.83 in 100 meters and was beaten by Gail Devers by just 100 of a second.
Right,
they both in the semi-final ran 21.72 and 21.75. She ran a stupendous leg to help give Jamaica the gold. But Delia Duhaney, was not concentrating, and the baton went to the
Merlin
floor.
Fraser was a part of that team too, along with Juliet Campbell. But 1996 in Atlanta, I thought that the United States got away with murder. But it's not for this program to say. 1996 was the year when it was staged on the U.S. track and field soil. And I thought Jamaica was perhaps discredited in some areas.
In difficult. And I must not forget to Winthrop Graham, who beat Kevin Young of America in the semifinals. I'm not saying somebody cannot beat somebody in a semifinal and lose to them in a final. But Kevin Young was the performance of the games. A question to be asked, how come he was beaten by Winthrop Graham in the semi-final? And when he finished his race, he had hit the last hurdle. He was running with the American flag while poor Winthrop was on the ground suffering. But 1996 was when Dion Hemmings got the first goal for the women.
Right,
when Carol Lewis said, batten down for Kim Batten, but it was to be the wonderful Dion Hemmings McCarthy. But Merlin at 36 got a gold, got a silver in the 100, losing her second photo finish to Gail Devers. Remember, in 1993 in Stuttgart, they said she lost the 100 meter to Devers by a 100th of a second. A thousandth, sorry, of a second.
2000 Sydney, Australia.
Yes, well, 2000 Sydney, Australia, but you must remember now, you know, the IAAF has to come to, they've got to hand back some medals to Jamaica.
Right.
Marion Jones, by being taken out of the 100, Merlin at age 40, is an Olympic bronze medal.
Right.
There is deep suspicion about the Greek girl. And she was second. Thanu, yes, you know, Thanu. If we take her out, Merlin at 40 has got a silver. And Tanya Lawrence is the champion of the world of gold.
Right.
So you see, when we're talking of medals, and she ran on the 4x4, so the Jamaican team could move up to gold medalist in the 4x4 in Sydney in 2000.
We'll wait on the IOC.
Yeah, in 2004, Veronica Campbell-Brown.
Winning the 200 meters.
Winning the 200 meters.
And also to the 4x1.
The 4x1. Yeah. And so Jamaica now did what they did in the 1991 World Championship when they got gold in Tokyo, Japan. They won their first Olympic gold medal.
Right.
And that is very, very special.
The first time of the English-speaking Caribbean that is happening on the world stage, at the Olympic stage. In 2008, Bobby, 13 medals for this
but
country.
I'm not seeing enough of it in the visual areas, you know. We have got to have a national assembly where we look to the visuals. A television or a cable station is not dissimilar to a book. We need to run and get from the IAAF what cost it, what it will. I'm sure we have good friends that we don't have to pay extra above market, just general cost. But we need the footage of Jamaicans excelling. Berlin, 2009, and Beijing, 2008. Absolutely splendid, but it was because they were founded on the rock of the warriors who came before. We must never, never, ever, we must always cease to remember them in our hearts.
Finally, Bobby, before we wrap up, when we look back at Jamaica's progression up to this point, and we spent a great deal and perhaps running over time now, looking to 2012 in London, on the platform of what must be in place right up on this point to perhaps surpass or equal what we've achieved in 08 and 09. What is it that we have to do?
I think we've got to have an understanding public, but we must remember this. I think we're going to get a lot of love. Because a lot of the world, a great deal of the world likes us apart from our crime and violence, but also how many Jamaicans live in England? England has been, for the last 50, 60 years, a home to a ton load of Jamaicans. So you're going to see Jamaican flag here, there, and everywhere. It's going to be a most comforting feeling. But I have to tell you, don't stress out the athletes, because to come first, second, or third before an event which goes to billions of people is not an easy road.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
The pleasure was mine.